I heard the phrase the other day, millennial beige,
I was
actually.
actually literally gonna ask you, I'm like, I don't know if this is allowed, but I have to ask you, what is with this beige core? I do not get it. I do not get it. It is
Or
not
any
flattering. It's
core,
what?
like any core, any,
See, but
like,
I think some of the cores are fun. Podcast time.
thank you.
Whew.
How are you?
I'm okay. I was gonna ask actually when this is coming out because I'm like, there's a lot of current events happening, but I don't want to like talk about things that are gonna be really irrelevant by the time this comes out.
It's going to be, you can totally talk about it.
I mean, if we're gonna be real, then I'm sad. I'm really sad. I'm laughing because it's kind of absurd the level of tragedy that's happening right in my face and right in our face living in California with the wildfires and seeing both the consequences of global warming and of less than ideal city planning and the real impact that that can have on human life. And so I'm so excited to be in this interview and be able to work with you and collab with you. And so I'm excited about that. And I'm kind of holding both that joy and that sadness at the same time at this moment.
Yeah. I completely ditto everything you said. It's one of those events that you'll never be the same again, we'll never be the same again. We've been pushed offshore from where we were, and we're not going to go back. And so I feel exactly how you're feeling, just like sea legs, wobbly. Where can I help? Where can I help? Like I'm in between trying to keep work going, but volunteering, calling everywhere, just trying to, yeah, just
Yeah.
what matters the most right now, and what do we do?
Yeah, it's destabilizing. I think what you said about feeling wobbly and things never being the same, I really connect with that. I felt like I had this great plan for last week and this week, and then now I'm reckoning with much bigger things, with mortality, with how much do I care about my possessions? You know, this is a fashion type of conversation to an extent. And I've been asking myself for the first time, how much do I really care? How much are my clothes worth when it comes to saving my life or helping my community? And so those are questions that I haven't had to ask in this way before, and I'm really privileged and grateful for that. But at the same time, that makes this a very heavy week, even not being as directly affected as a lot of folks.
Yeah, and what has been your conclusion about your clothes?
So I don't have one. I don't have one. I'm through these fires and through my life. I'm trying to become okay with not having the answers. I'm definitely the typical like trauma survivor who plans and tries to do things ahead in an effort to gain control over the situation. And so I'm trying to be okay not having an answer to that. And more my answer is like, I'm gonna enjoy my clothes. I'm gonna enjoy them. And but when I left, I evacuated for a couple days because some of the fires were a little bit closer than I'd like. I went around my closet and I asked myself, what do I need to bring with me? And I grabbed clothes for comfort that made me feel confident and able to handle a crisis. You know, big t-shirts and sweatpants that I could move around in easily that made me feel confident in that way. And I think, yeah, I guess that makes me think about how confidence from clothing can come from different places. I've never thought of that as a utilitarian. I'd never seen clothes as so utilitarian as I did when I packed up to evacuate. And there's something, like you said, some loss that I experienced then that I'm not going to go back. I always saw clothes as fun and play, or what you wear, or something to throw on. But saying what clothes do I need to take to best survive, I keep getting shivers. I keep feeling so deeply sad. And I think I'm sad because I'm thinking of the people who did lose everything, who left and then they had nothing to come back to, and that's just deeply heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, I've first of all, trauma survivor, yes. Same to that. And so these situations, I'm familiar with the feeling of of the earth not being beneath my feet. And my whole life is really finding that stability inside. So I really do understand and relate to, the trigger of this. As an example, one of the hardest things for me in life is separating myself from suffering animals, in particular dogs. And right now, all that just gets completely ignited. I mean, in my mind where I want to be is literally, I'm trying to get there. Like I can't even get there because there are so many volunteers and people are showing up in such a huge way, which is, a silver lining. And we have to remind ourselves of that, too, when we're getting pushed off the shore, because within that comes rebirth. And within that comes regeneration, and within that comes newness, and hopefully, like I was thinking, oh my God, can you imagine if did this wake everyone in LA up to all the euthanizing in the dog shelters? Are all the dogs going to get adopted now? Whoa, like, and the big one for me is like, is there going to be unity finally? Can we unify and stay there?
Yeah, these are definitely the big questions that come up. And I like what you said about the silver lining being that so many people are coming around and helping. And I love that because it helps me separate myself from my own narcissism, because I'm definitely with you. Like, I have to do something. I have to do it, and I have to do it right now. And there have been times where that's been true, where I have been the best person to take action or do certain things. But when I'm able to see so many other people doing it to the point that they're saying, no, don't bring us donations, don't bring stuff to the fire stations, it's causing problems, that allows me to separate from my own ego and be like, what is actually best for me? Like, I don't have experience dealing with animals. I can't serve in that way. All the clothing donations are full. I'm new to town in LA, so there's actually not a lot that I can do. And maybe the best thing at this point is to do my job and to rest and continue contributing like I always have, donating money and staying aware and things like that. But I don't need to pretend I'm Superwoman, because I'm not.
Right.
And for me, it really is an ego-driven thing. When I try to do that, I'm trying to like paste over my own feelings of weakness and vulnerability, and I'm trying to be okay feeling those feelings right now.
Exactly. I'm struggling with that too, just because those are the things that made us feel valuable at one time, and you're valuable anyway, right?
That's the big theme for me, I think, with why I'm smiling, even though we're talking about something so sad, because I love that I get to talk about this, is caretaking as this double-edged sword, especially for me as a woman, especially as a Black woman, especially as a queer Black, oldest daughter in a family. Caretaking has been rewarded. I love it. I get a dopamine rush. It makes me feel so good to help others. And a good amount of the time, it's this ego-driven thing where I'm trying to feel valuable and purposeful, and actually neglecting my purpose and myself, and actually erasing myself, and instead positioning myself as the caretaker. What can I do to help in the fires? Forget about what I'm good at. Forget about my needs. It's irrelevant. And it's, for me, so much easier to think about anything but, again, my own vulnerability. And so I'm really grateful for the LA community that's allowed me to do that, because we are taking care of each other. I am able to contribute in ways that work for me, and there's so many organizations making it very easy to contribute and help out. And I'm able to then sit back and feel taken care of, right? We're here taking care of each other. And that's the experiences that we didn't have necessarily in the past that then make us want to take care of now.
Exactly. It's the hardest thing for me has been, you're no good to anyone if you're not taking care of yourself. Like that, oh my God.
It's so difficult. It sounds so simple, but it's just not. Like, the amount of meals I don't eat because I'm answering emails, or because I'm on a call, or because I'm talking to a loved one. And it's not bad to be talking to loved ones or doing all these things. It is bad to not eat, though. And that's also about seeing my own value also, right? Seeing that I'm even worth taking care of in the first place, and worth giving myself that attention that I so easily and readily like to give to other people. And again, I'm saying this with a smirk, because it's not, I feel like the words, I'm like, oh, I'm Mother Teresa. No, like, helping people is great, but doing so compulsively as a way to avoid my own vulnerability it's not it. Now that I'm not doing that as much, I am feeling more like I'm able to contribute. And I will say this too, way more nervous about my contributions. Like, I've worked in nonprofit a lot, I've worked with kids, I've worked in schools, a lot of the kind of typical helping professions, and I did reach and help so many people. But now I'm a full-time artist and creative, and I hear the same things from people online and in person that I heard from my students and my clients as a social worker. And so good comes in so many forms. And for me, when I've been able to focus more on my journey or refrain from distracting myself with other people's problems, the more I've actually been able to help. But it's much more difficult. It's been much less cookie cutter. There isn't a school that teaches you to have the career I have now.
Right. It's like we are meant to love ourselves. Like, we are here, I believe, to know love. I just find the fact that we can even have this conversation to understand each other and almost finish each other's sentences in this way is what makes me so excited about life and transformation and everything, this moment in time, as dark as it is, doing this, having the light moment in the middle of the dark is just, I'm very grateful. So anyway, thank you so much for being here and participating in this with me. And it's been a long time that I've wanted to do this with you. So can you talk a little bit about your style and what it says about you and everything that you want to say? Anything you want to say, what you're wearing, all of that.
Style. I always say about myself, I'm not a fashion girly. I don't know brands. I don't know labels. I don't own anything probably costs more than $300. I'm not like fashion-y, but I love clothes. I love playing dress up, and I love outfits, and I love style. And to me, style's swag. Like, I'm living alone now for the first time ever. And in the morning, I don't wear clothes to bed. And in the morning, I wake up naked, and I don't have my afro, makeup, anything. My crust is still there, and I have these two mirrors, and I just look at myself, and I'll be like, style, like swag, like no clothes on, crusty-eyed, and I feel like I'm feeling myself. Like, I wouldn't even say it's not sexy, it's not confidence. Like, I like that.
Feeling like you have style even without a lot on. We used to say for what's underneath, like it sort of came about being at the Russian baths in New York on a Friday night or whatever. And I would always look around and say, everyone's got style. Like, I can tell who has style even without wearing anything. They don't have clothes on. And, or you can wear a paper bag and have style. So it's internal. It's not the thing.
Just to be, right? Just to like accept myself and appreciate myself like I appreciate the mountains and the palm trees. And to me, that's style, right? I feel like, I forget who said it, but it's like, God, man, if anyone had style, it was the creator, like to make these like beautiful mountains and these trees and these skies. And
I really relate to your style being just connected to the beauty that we're born from, because I'm always looking at flowers, like the perfect, like this came out of the intelligence, like we did. Colors and the way colors go together. I'm always thinking, oh, that's a sweater, that's a jacket. That would look good with that, I was really relating to that.
To be that type of creator and creative, like to be able to see my own self and my own style as an extension of this greater system, right? And these systems that we can often ignore when our city's not burning down. But I've been seeing myself as that stylish without clothes, which has been really cool, and that's been a really new experience for me, actually. Being comfortable in my skin, I think that is what it is, right? Feeling at home in my skin feels like style, and as Ruth says, everything else is drag, and I really take that seriously. I really express my style to feel like full out. It's definitely about a creative expression and about like telling a story, and I think subverting expectations. Something that I've really been enjoying in the past 2 years. I've been in a punk band called Fever 333, and it's been a really cool experience because the band's been around for a while, like 5 or so years, but they got a new lineup, and so I'm the first woman and the first bass player. And so the band has this reputation for performing, and they're all skateboarders, so they put on these big shows and they jump around and stuff. And like, I can't physically do a lot of these things because I'm not an athlete. Like, I like to move around, but I'm not an athlete. And so I've been like, what can I bring to this, and how can I bring that energy? And for me, it's been this sort of combination of sort of like bringing in sexuality and then subverting those expectations. And that's kind of what drew me into this piece today. When you said, Elisa, on the phone that the assignment was, wear something that feels true to me, unapologetically me, this piece came to mind, and I'm so glad I got the nerve to like put it on right before this. I think a little bit of the like, I might die this week, so I'm gonna wear the goddamn top. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I would have been as bold if I wasn't so close to my mortality, but I love this piece. It's by a Black woman designer named Linnea, and it's actually these stuffed animals glued to one of my bras, just like an old bra. And the reason for that is we were on set. She had all these beautiful pieces she handmade. She cuts all her own patterns. She doesn't just glue things onto things. She's a full-on clothing designer, maker extraordinaire. But I didn't quite like the tops. They weren't quite working. And then we just had this idea together, like, why don't we tape some to your bra? And we did, and it fits perfectly, which feels really good because usually bodice shirts like this, I can't get them in my size because of my body type. I'm very petite and very curvy. And so because of that, clothes are just not made for my body. And so I wear things that are size flexible a lot of the time. If you see online, I wear a lot of stretchy t-shirts and stretchy pants or skirts or things like that I can adjust to my body, because fit, yeah, this is a tangent, we can go there, but fit is a huge area of confidence or not confidence and style for me. Feeling like my clothes fit, feeling like I can move in them is something that most clothes that I put on because of my body type, I can't do that. So having this fun, sexy piece, but that also sort of definitely subverts those expectations by being stuffed animals, and then having that be a piece by a Black woman that I love, that is now my friend, that we created on site. I cannot think of anything that feels more me. And even the fact that I almost didn't wear it because it's showy, and I don't normally show cleavage because I found that, especially on social media, it distracts, and I hate that because this whole thing about like girls' dress codes, you don't want them to be distracting the boys. And the reality that plays out on social media is that you get a lot of comments about your chest, and then the algorithm sends your content to people who want to make comments about your chest. And so this opportunity where I'm doing a longer form piece where people are going to be clicking because they want to watch something a little bit more in depth is a great opportunity to express myself more, and I'm excited to take it.
Yeah, amazing. What you're expressing about wearing something where you have cleavage or where you're showing your body, and the intention is not for you to get that kind of attention. It's just, this is you, and you have you're just expressing yourself, and that's it doesn't, it has nothing to do with like what the reaction is. It has to do with what you're needing to emanate and feel and radiate.
Yeah, I mean, I think the question, I love what you said, and I feel like the question that comes from that for me is, how do I feel? Was it Grace Jones who said it? I want to say it was Grace Jones, about I put on clothes to feel as confident as I do naked. And I think that's where I'm at now. I've struggled with self-harm, eating disorders, all the usual ways to, again, avoid our vulnerability. And so for me to even be able to say that is amazing. Clothes very much used to be about hiding for me. And so now I'm really interested in that interplay between, what do you expect? What do I want to say? And what am I saying? Because one of the interesting things too that's so cool is my hair naturally grows as an afro, and it's amazing because I didn't really understand, and I still don't. I over time increasingly understand the cultural significance of the afro and what it means for me to wear the hair that I was born with. And so sometimes there's a lot of power in things I unintentionally or don't want to communicate, and how do I leverage that, and how do I understand that? I feel confident enough to enter that conversation. I think there was so much of my life, and specific times I remember when I first moved to New York, and I wanted to blend in and I didn't want to be noticed and I didn't want to have those conversations. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't want to put myself out there. I was scared. And even when I worked on Wall Street, I wore generic baggy clothes. Like when I worked on Wall Street, I got the biggest size that would fit over me so they could tailor it so it wouldn't fall off. And then black skirt, black jacket. And it was because I wanted to blend in. I was scared of what would happen if I got noticed. I was scared of people's negative reactions, and I was scared of standing out too much and becoming a victim because of that. And now I have arranged my life, so that's less of a factor, I think, but also going to a lot of therapy and finding out what I really like. I'm reminded actually about a year ago, my therapist and I had a whole session just talking about color and my complicated relationship with it, because it truly makes me, like you said about nature, so happy just seeing different colors. And I get kind of sad when everyone's wearing black. And I am so scared to wear color because it makes you stand out and people notice. People are going to talk to me more if I'm in a crowded space. And really just owning that, and really owning that I like color, and owning that when I'm choosing to not wear it, I am making a choice for reasons, but appreciating that about myself was something that was really connected to me, to my healing and finding who I am and being okay, being different and standing out, and acknowledging the importance of color, and acknowledging that I love it, and acknowledging that I'm sad when it's not there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that from my perspective, having been in the fashion industry for a big part of my life and seeing the increasing amount of homogenization and brainwashing that's gone on since, when I was first in it in the 80s and the 90s, and like what has happened, the corporate brand takeover and the greed and what that's done to all of us. I literally stopped wearing black. I have so many great black pieces of clothing from amazing designers from the past and everything. I don't wear it. And I haven't worn it since I started StyleLikeU. It's been a rebellion for 15 years. I heard the phrase the other day, millennial beige, actually.
I was actually literally going to ask you, I'm like, I don't know if this is allowed, but I have to ask you, what is with this beige core? I do not get it. I do not get it.
Or
it is not
any
flattering.
core.
What?
Like any core, any...
See, but I think some of the cores are fun. I think I like the coquette thing. I don't love, but I love the bows. Like I love the femininity. I think some of this, what do they call, office siren thing that Doja Cat's doing is really cool. Some of the cores I can get down with because I love teen subcultures. I just think it's so cool and it's so playful, and but at the same time, from your perspective in the industry, the cores and maybe the beige is just a factor of that, but it just seems so prevalent. And it doesn't make any sense to me because it doesn't even pop on social media.
Well, this is my objection to it is not the thing. I don't have a problem with any of these things. I have a problem with these man-made, formulaic trends that are put on people instead of what is coming out of a person. Like, who are you? Like, you have a masterpiece inside of you. What is that masterpiece? And you may express it in that way and feel it in that moment, whatever they're calling something, a core. But the fact that they are labeling and boxing everything and cookie cuttering it all so that everyone feels they then need to fit in that box is what I have the objection to.
Oh, I love that. That's a great explanation because, I think the difference for me when I think of subcultures, I think of emo, I think of punk, I think of hippies, I think of these rebellion. And that's when you said boxes, it really hit to me is you can buy a 12-year-old could buy a Become XYZ core kit off Shein for $15 and wear it. And all of the past subcultures that I admire, what I admire about them is the creativity and making things on your own, and something that we don't have to do anymore because we have fast fashion. And so that rush versus the rush of finding something at a thrift store, it's so much, or making something, it's just so much easier. So why wouldn't you? I don't blame anyone, but I completely agree that that really reflects how, I don't want to say bad it's gotten, but yeah, how bad it's gotten, at least in terms of waste, and at least in terms of clothes being self-expressions and something we create versus something that
Yeah,
we
like
emit.
identity. Like
Yeah,
it's what wants to come out of you, what
right.
wants to express itself instead of what are you being told to express.
Right.
What is your comfort in your body? Can you just give a little bit of what that journey's been?
Yeah, I think of the best way to give a little journey. Yeah, the one thing that I would have taken with me if I really had to, was like certain the house is gonna burn down, was my journals. So in these journals, I don't even know how many pages. It's just I hate my body, like just that. Like I hate, like I don't even think I understand still, like the emotion of hatred, like just such a disdain or dislike. But really, for me, I think hatred would be just wanting something to not exist, being so repulsed by something that I want it to not exist. And so for me, it was definitely, if I'm going to be psychological, very much about feeling depressed and very much about feeling hopeless and feeling that I was not a valuable person on earth. And I think that came from not having present paternal figures as much, and what that, like, my parents weren't as present, and what that does to a person's brain, and also genetics, and also there's definitely a lot of disordered eating in my family, and especially for a lot of, I don't want to say a lot of black people. That's a lot of my family. Black family lives in areas where there isn't as much access to high quality, nutritious food or education. So there's a lot of unstable weights. It's a lot of that in my family, and so I developed a habit of binging and purging and of starving myself. For me, it was all about self harm. It was all about um, trying to make myself not feel like I was there. And so to not eat, and even I started this conversation by talking about missing breakfast and what that can do to my brain when I'm not eating for a week. I can't imagine what that's doing to my especially growing brain. And it definitely gave me that feeling that I wasn't there. And same thing when I would binge, and same thing when I would vomit. I would feel nothing. And that's what I wanted. And then when I was about 16, I started going to a support group for eating disorders, like a 12-step group, and that was the first time I'd ever learned to just eat 3 meals, like regular meals, and make them satiating and nutritious. And so I got that education and experience, and since then it's been a journey with a lot of ups and downs, but I don't feel afraid of food. I want to eat food. I like my body, and like for a woman in America, I feel like I don't want surgeries. Like for a woman in America, I feel like super grateful to have the confidence that I have, and I think it took coming from like trying to kill myself with an eating disorder basically to appreciate it. And so yeah, I don't have perfect diet, but to me, if it were to be perfect, that wouldn't be it. Like that wouldn't, if
But that's in its own way like a disorder. That's in its own way
yeah,
yeah.
exactly, for me, exactly. That's not my truth. I like Cheetos. I still like junk food. Exactly. So yeah, so that journey's been definitely ongoing in terms of like learning to feed myself and not becoming really rigid, because yeah, I was vegan for a while, and back to the beginning, I want control, I want predictability, I want to feel like I know what's going on. And so as I kind of came out of this deep depression, yes, a lot of that turned into excess. I would do the calorie logging. I did one of the deep valleys, was excess exercising. I worked in a school at the time, and I would just get on the weekends. I thought I was being healthy, exercising. I would get on the treadmill and just go until whatever calories were burnt. And one day I got home after the gym and I sat down, and like my back went out, like I couldn't walk. oh my God, girl, you have an exercise addiction, that's an eating disorder, and you made yourself not able to walk for like a week. So it's definitely been a lot of peaks and valleys, but always an upward trajectory, and it never kind of switched, but it's these cool moments where I'm like, yeah, I haven't purged, and I don't even know the last time I made myself vomit. And actually, this is gross, but I'll say it, is one of the things is after I stopped purging, I still vomited a lot. Like I had a weak stomach. And it's funny because when I think about my eating disorder healing journey, it's never like these big milestone moments. It'll always be conversations like this where I'm realizing in this moment, I haven't even like vomited at all in like a year. And I didn't even know that would be a phase of my recovery, just getting over sort of habitual nausea, but it's great and it feels amazing. And so now with my eating disorder recovery, but with also my recovery with depression or even my journey with ADHD and anxiety, it's less about these big transformative moments because I put in that work. It's much more about marking progress and also finding new ways to grow and thrive. And so I didn't know reduced nausea all these years later would be an outcome of getting my eating and my body image in a healthier place, but it has been, and it's such a gift to be able to see that and continue to get these fringe benefits because just even not being nauseous, like that's not a thing people talk about, and it's a cool thing to experience when I've felt physically ill, just sick most of my life. And so
Wow.
yes, it's a big deal. It's a big deal.
It's major. And I think that is how it works. I think it happens like when you're working on yourself and facing yourself and stepping into your fears and dealing with the darker sides of yourself, I have found, and not running away from them and confronting them. And that there is that feeling. Suddenly the baggage is dropped.
Right.
Like baggage is dropped and you don't even realize that it's dropped. It's like, there's not like a moment where it's like, oh, I'm dropping the baggage. It's just like it happens because you are able to change those patterns. You are able to change, the brain and like, and you are able to rewire and reprogram. And I find that so unbelievably exciting and such an incredible part of life and being a human. And especially with aging and getting older for myself, I feel I don't even think about it because in a lot of ways I feel like just a smarter 16-year-old. I feel just wiser and freer, wiser and freer 16-year-old me. And it's so cool that way. So yeah. So did you want to say something to that?
No, I'm just taking it in. I have this idea of being a wiser and freer 16-year-old you is it's an exciting and attractive idea. And also I think when I hear that, it's also scary. I think I'm scared of what my 16-year-old self would do with my wisdom now. I think I know that if I had the resources I do now, like including my ability to get through situations, I don't even know. I mean, I think, right, like, I guess for me to think of, it's like, I guess I'm appreciating, like, when I was 16, I had what I could handle, And the idea of even just understanding when I say, I wish I would have gone into the music industry when I was 16. Really? To that, like, am I saying that to this little girl who was carrying the world on her shoulders and asking her to, like, go to the wolves in Hollywood? Am I really saying that? So I think hearing you talk about it so confidently is inspiring, but also scary and unnerving because I think I'm still working on what even that relationship is or what I want it to be.
Yeah, well, what I mean by it is that, yes, my 16-year-old self couldn't have handled anything that I'm doing now, like nothing, like couldn't have been as accountable, couldn't have accepted the pain, couldn't have accepted how much pain there is.
Right. Wow.
And that out of the pain comes so much knowledge and such a happier person. I couldn't accept that. Like and one of the beautiful things of getting older is just for me, and my experience has been that I'm able to accept that. I'm able to accept it. And so I still feel like that girl, like I still feel like enthusiastic and excited about everything and growing and evolving and changing. And like, I don't think about an end to that.
Right, right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved the way that you kind of, yeah, talked about your ability to handle the pain now that you couldn't handle then.
It's ongoing.
Yeah, it's
it
ongoing.
never stops.
It's
And
ongoing.
it's ongoing. It never stops. And I think your body, I can't even get over the intelligence of the body and its desire to heal. The body wants to heal, like the intelligence that heals your cold and knows how to, like, you're not directing your liver and your gallbladder to function, it's just happening. The same intelligence wants to heal you emotionally because it knows your homeostatic place. It knows it. So it will give you it when you're ready.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I love that. And and I think even just moving to LA, like, and dressing in this way and expressing myself in a more playful way is a step toward meeting her. I feel very like, I'm feeling like a physical connection to my inner child now. Like I feel this sort of like merging of bodies. And I feel myself on that healing journey and that this is a pivotal moment. And to go back to the caretaking stuff, prioritizing myself and showing myself the love that I've showed romantic partners or my family, or I did a lot of caretaking of my sister, showing that to myself, right? Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. And giving, or is this therapy? Because I was like, because now I'm like, oh, it's because when I was a kid, I was parentified and adultified. And so now that I am an adult, trying to get in touch with that, there's a challenge for me to identify a child, even though there was a child, but that child didn't necessarily experience childhood and didn't feel like a child. So I'm in the middle of the story. I have no
So
conclusion.
that's why you become more her.
Yes.
That's why you become more her, because then she's able to be the child that she wasn't able to be because she feels safe. And that doesn't stop.
Safe.
It doesn't stop. It does.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't
stop.
The
not stopping.
With aging. It doesn't stop. So you can feel, at any time in your life, later in life, in my late 60s, like I feel like I'm her now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Oh, and that is exciting to me. I had this like image of a rainbow and just sort of like riding this rainbow with myself and like meeting my own self along the way and becoming closer over time.
Yeah, that is the journey. So what is a thing that you rejected about yourself, that you felt shame around, that you didn't want, and then once you embraced it, it became a power?
I think standing out, being big and being loud. I think a lot about my heritage. I'm half, like, right down the middle, like half Jewish, half African American, like descendant from slaves. Like I didn't survive Jim Crow. I didn't survive the Holocaust. I'm descendants from people who did, but those people are my grandparents. And, my mom and her sisters had to desegregate a school in Arkansas. They weren't the Little Rock Nine, but they were part of that same movement. And so the desire not to stand out, when I hear stories from my mom about having trash thrown at her or my dad being called slurs, these are my parents. Like this isn't distant past. Like that's how I was raised. And so my parents definitely were supportive of my self-expression. Like I don't want to paint that in any way that they weren't. They never were like, quiet down. They didn't give me those messages directly like I know some people's parents do. But they definitely came to me indirectly. And I definitely observed a lot of behavior in silencing ourselves or not dressing in ways that stand out or hiding our curvy bodies, things like that can't help but connect to this generational trauma, because I can so clearly see how in previous generations the need to blend in and to assimilate was survival. For me, though, I had a Wall Street job right out of college. Like, that was me doing the America thing, and I was also in a relationship recently, we can talk more about that, was also very much that in a lot of ways. Of course, I loved my partner and all that. It wasn't fake feelings. However, I was driven by a desire to fit in, to be a good American, to be a good citizen, to not ruffle feathers, to when someone asks you, what's your job? Who are you dating? The questions everyone asks, to give the right answer that would make them happy. And I do think the way I was raised, those messages were sent to me. And I'm not just about my parents, not to mention on a cultural level, right? The way that Jewish people and the way that Black women are portrayed in the media, and the things that are said about us, and the things that we should kind of taught to de-emphasize or whatever, right? And so that's all to say, I've thought be small. And so again, to show up here, like showing my body in a way that I don't normally, is a huge statement for me. Then as I've gone through life, I've had more and more opportunities to have those types of moments where I can be big. And so one of those moments for me was going viral, playing bass on social media. It's a big instrument. It's considerably bigger than a guitar. It's a loud instrument, and it's an instrument that only about 10% of bass players are women. So for me to even show up online in the bass algorithm, or be on the cover of a bass magazine, or play at another world I'm in, is the rock music alternative world, and that's also an extremely male, specifically white male dominated space. And to show up there, it's loud. Like, I can say that's I think part of it, right, is when I'm talking about this generational stuff. But my family also, we look very much the ethnicities we are. It's loud. Like, I am a woman with a curvy, womanly, whatever, stereotypically womanly body, curly hair, very feminine features. Like, people, and a lot of times people will kind of in their heads put you in certain boxes to make you fit in. Like, oh, well, she's a girl, but she's masculine. Oh, she's Black, but not one of those Black. So these mind games people play to make you make sense. I and who I am really challenge those. And so I'm constantly on that journey, and the place where I'm at now is like finding my spoken voice. I've always been a musician, I've always been a writer, and I've always been an activist, but those have also kind of changed their weight over time. In the past couple of years, in the TikTok era, I didn't really, my words have not taken center stage for me. And it's because I'm scared of the pushback. I care so much about equal access to education, for example. I get really sad when people, the internet fights, like, to me, it's too much. It's just too much for me. It's just too much to go into those worlds now with how hostile and personal they have become. But now, I've reached a limit. I think, with what I can say without words, and what I can say in the old ways, what I can say through articles. I wanna say something. I want to take up my space. And I want to give these answers that I feel like I'm supposed to give in interviews, that are the after. Like, I'm the victorious thing. Look up to me.
No.
Like, this is a success story. But the reality is, like, with my hair, with my body, with my music, with even just asserting myself in spaces where I want to speak up about, I'm on a set and I want a different shirt, speaking up about little things, I've come really far. But as far as doing so publicly, the fear is strong. And I think, and I do think knowing people are watching does amplify it. I'm really trying to not try to cater to them, right? I don't want to restart the process and try to, and make content that's trying to please people, or make videos that are trying to please people. But I want to be loud. I want to take up space. I want to be loud. I want to own my space. I feel like I've been trying to, like, get rid of, I feel like I have a pass for life, like a life pass, like a ticket. And I feel like I've been spending my whole life trying to like get rid of it. Like, I don't want this ticket. Like, I don't, like, anyone want this, like, trying to, like, pretend I don't have it, you know? And my friend said something to me I thought of, my friend Paul, before I left New York. He said, if you were born winning any kind of lottery, cash in that ticket. Talent, charisma, money, whatever lottery you won in life, cash that in. And, like, I won the lottery of liking to talk, and people listen, and I want to say something. So, like, I want to cash that in, because I know if I die, and I guess that's it, right? If the fires get me, it's going to be the, like, songs I didn't write or the things I didn't say, because I'm just now discovering it. I'm just now, for the first time in my life, not day-to-day prioritizing someone else's well-being by being their caretaker and by having that person in my home. I'm living by myself for the first time ever, and I'm able to create a life that's completely about me, just even insofar as, like, the sounds I hear and the person that I see and the smells I smell. Like, I don't have to smell myself. Like, it's creating all this space where I'm able to have that listening to my own thought. That's a wild one. Okay, I have some, because one of my favorite things to think about is Virginia Woolf, when she said, what women need to write is, what is it? Like a pen in a room of one's own or something. And I always love that line, of room of your own, because that's what I didn't have. And I always longed for that, you know? And then my last relationship, I did have a room, but only recently have I realized that isn't actually what, she didn't really mean a room. She meant the space to create. And for me, being hardwired since birth to take care of others, that space is just as much psychological as it is physical for me. And so now I have the space. Now I think I finally have, even though I thought thought I had it, I have finally what I've been wanting, that Virginia Woolf instructed me to want 10 years ago. I finally have it. I finally have a room of my own, and turns out it's just I need the psychological and the physical.
This is why I love doing this. Because it's showing the oneness. It's showing that we're one organic living organism. And that what you're thinking, I'm feeling and thinking the same thing, and it's my struggle too.
Yep.
And that must mean that it's a lot of people's. And I think that it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this and not just doing videos where I'm cut out of it. I'm having this kind of relationship with someone, but I'm not in it. So everything I'm saying and relating to, that's getting them to be so open and have these amazing revelations, you're not seeing how that's happening, and you're not seeing my part of it, or my sharing, all of that. And so this is definitely stepping into a fear for me, but also, and without Lily, and that's a whole nother story, very emotional, very deep, very intense, very, very, very intense. But anyway, the speaking the speaking that I feel I need to do on social media, and I think this is what you're saying, and not giving a shit what people think or what their responses are going to be. Like, I know I need to do this.
Right.
Like, I've sat back I've done a little bit. I poke my toe in there, but usually most of StyleLikeU is everyone else. And I know that has to change. It's the same thing. I'm kind of like, no. Let me pass this on this lifetime. I'll do this next time. No, like, and I know I'm lying to myself. I cannot lie to myself. I really relate to it. And that's why it's just that feeling. And I guess, do you feel the same way? Like, just go do it. Just say it. Like, don't make it precious.
100%.
Like, just do it, say it, put it out there, blah. What doesn't matter what happens. If it doesn't do well, if it does well, if it does, like, just blah. Just like say it. Like all the other people that you see doing that. I know. I get it. I fully get it. And I think it's very exciting. I really, I really understand what you're saying. Like, you've done all of this amazing growth, and you've overcome all of these different things. And now here's this, like, here's the voice. Here's the part that, that needs to come now, the music, the style, the body, your amazing growth on social media through what you've been doing, but like now there's so much to share and so much inspiration to give to people. Like
Yeah.
right now, you said to me the last time you wanted to reveal something. You wanted to talk about something that your audience didn't know about.
Yeah, no, that's the yeah. So I want to like introduce this properly. So I went viral 4 years ago, and that was a big shift for me. And I didn't anticipate that just by having a verified check or by having like a certain number of followers. And so I became a lot more protective of my personal life and my loved ones specifically. I think that was also a trauma response in the pandemic, but also I think a pretty fair response to seeing doxing and seeing how, especially content creators I didn't think with following smaller than mine will be doxxed, and really it's the family. Like it's makes me really angry when people come for people's families, but that's something I'm very protective of my family. It's like as much as I'm working on the caretaking as a negative thing, I think
Of course,
my
all of it.
protectiveness is a strength. And so in the pandemic, around the same time I went viral, I fell in love, and I had to make a decision if I wanted to share that. And I ultimately decided not to. I see relationship content does really well, and I'm like tempted to get that bag and to fit in and be a part of it, and people really like that content. But I realized like I wanted it to be for me. And I think at the time, and this wasn't that long ago, like 6 years ago, I was really just starting to figure out what it meant to own anything as my own, and to treasure something and to value something. And so this relationship was something that I really consciously didn't post about. And like I wouldn't omit, I wouldn't like I would post photos and tag my partner occasionally, but I didn't share it publicly. And as you alluded to, it does feel like a massive piece of my life that I've left my community out of, and something that going forward I think folks will hopefully benefit from. And I've learned so much, and I want to share it. And so I was in this relationship when I went viral, and then still during the pandemic I got engaged, and quickly after domestic partner married. Like I never wanted a wedding, which is again something that I didn't even realize until in the pandemic I became obsessed with having a wedding, and it was like my escapist thing. And I was in love, and we had, by all accounts, a good relationship, and it really did help me fit in. It helped me to feel like I mattered, like I was part of society, especially during the pandemic when I was really struggling. And again, the relationship and the love was very real, but I was very much in a place of answering to someone who wasn't myself. What you said before about feeding off the affirmation externally, I'm not like I want to be liked by everybody. That's not me, but I'm where I want to do it right. And so to me, right was the way that they say to do it. And they say, get a good job. And they are always asking me why I'm single or who I'm dating or when I'm gonna. And then when I told people I'm married, I'm engaged, people would always get so excited. And it broke my heart to take that away from myself or from anyone else, like the joy of a new relationship during that time. And I ultimately realized that I was, at the same time as I loved my husband, and my relationship, I hated my husband and my relationship. Not them, nothing to do with them. It was because, not that they were, perfect either. I'm not saying it was perfect. That's not the case. But there weren't any major issues, frankly. Like, I don't have an exciting reason for why we broke up. My reason is the true reason that's exciting to me. I have gone my whole life, ever since I was born, I've lived with someone, and that person or people, I have been a caretaker, if not the caretaker. And I am angry about that. It's not fair. I never asked for it. I don't have any kids that I birthed, but I've had to take care of so many people, and I never asked for it. I didn't even get a chance to ask for it. I'm angry about that. And so anybody who continues to keep me from that, I'm going to be mad at them and I'm going to hate them, because those are the feelings that I have toward spending so much of my life not being my authentic self and spending so much of my life adhering to society's rules, because that's what I thought would make me happy. I was just I don't know, I guess I was
Right.
depressed and I wanted to be happy, and what I saw was happy were people that were married and had jobs and houses.
Right.
And so I said, I need
Right.
to do that. And I felt happy in moments of connection with my partner. Did I feel happy when we were doing official relationship stuff? No. I don't like the family dinners. I don't like wedding planning. I don't like the bureaucracy of it. I only was attracted to that because it made me feel like I fit in. What I like is something much more complicated. And I finally was able to see that. Like, I just spent my whole life thinking, I want a monogamous partner. I'm queer, so the gender was gonna be here. That was gonna be, I don't know, that part I wasn't sure about. But I always wanted that, and I didn't really understand why. And then when I was in the relationship and I had it, I then began to feel this deep resentment. And I explored it in so many different ways. I traveled, I toured, like I said, lots of therapy, lots of conversations, and I ultimately realized that I need to give myself that time, similarly to expressing myself verbally and putting my message out there, similarly to putting out songs, similarly to things I've done like touring and sharing my creativity to social media and making beautiful things and doing photos, all these things that I needed to do. This is one of them. And it's so difficult for me to not want to cling to that. I don't feel the desire to have that kind of relationship, but I strongly feel the desire to succeed and achieve. Which, as I said that, I felt so sad and angry, because for me, that's been my drug. That's been the easy drug for me to take. And unlike a drug, for me, if I took a drug for me, my mom likes it. My grandma likes it. Love is beautiful. That's why we were talking about love earlier when you talked about the work of love. I thought marriage is hard work meant therapy, hard conversations, maybe infidelity, all these things. No, turns out it's my self-work. Turns out it's finding the ways that I was starving myself emotionally, starving myself in terms of feeding myself the nourishment that I need, which is conversations like these, to be honest. And even in creativity, it's these conversations, just in song form or in performance form, or things like that. It's these conversations. And for me, at least, when I was planning a wedding, co-managing a house, managing a chore chart, being the wife of the house, that wasn't possible. And I will say too, because I felt so attracted to this role, and that if I was a married person, then I would be happier and feel more confident and fulfilled and stable. And I'm exploring this now as I'm thinking about maybe that I would want another relationship in the future at some point. What did I do to set things up so badly for myself? And again, I don't put this on my partner. Like, I just took on a disproportionate amount. It's the stuff you hear in the media. Disproportionate amount of chores, organization, a lot of the financial management. I could say it's because I have this experience caretaking, and so I tend to fall into these things. But it's also, I think, what I thought would bring me happiness. And it's embarrassing to an extent, but I totally cannot separate myself from the desire to have my Disney fairy tale story. Even though I was thinking about Princess Tiana. Like, I don't want to own a restaurant and cook, and her husband seems actually pretty annoying. When I think about it, when I feel it, I do. It's so deeply ingrained in me, but I don't even want to say that as like a bad thing. That's just the culture and the framework I live in. So right now, talking about it, I feel really grateful for the experience that I was able to have. A partner who was understanding of that. It definitely wasn't a chill divorce. It's still happening. It's never easy, but it was not messy, and the relationship was one of communication But I also feel a great sense of anger and sadness that I wanted marriage for so long, and it was really a betrayal of myself in a lot of ways. Like, I feel cheated and I feel lied to by the world we live in that told me that marriage would make me happy. And it didn't. It made me less happy. And I'm sad because of the breakup, but I feel better and I feel happier. And it's a strange feeling. But I know that feeling, that strange feeling for the first time, means I'm on the right track. Like, I'm sad to lose this, but I feel better and this feels right.
Well, first of all, wow, like everybody needs to hear that.
Thanks.
Everybody needs to hear that. Talk about a voice, talk about what you need to talk about.
Thank you.
I mean, how much pressure people feel around this, and sense of failure if it's not right, and then how many people squeeze and bend and fold themselves into situations that are cutting them off, like their lifeblood off, even if it's just a teeny bit, because they think this is what you're supposed to do, and this storybook ending of this institution of marriage. Wow. Really brave. Talk about leaving the shore.
Yeah.
Not knowing what the other shore is, and it doesn't matter, because it's all what's happening in the middle that matters. And that middle part is to allow yourself to be uncomfortable.
Yes. That's real.
Or no change ever happens, and then you just live your whole life in this muted beige world.
Yeah. What you said about twisting yourself to fit into this thing that's supposed to make me happy, that is what I was doing, even from the beginning. And I had to do it to know that, I think.
Right.
But, and just to hear you say that other people need to hear this is affirming too.
God.
Because
that's why don't question.
Yeah.
I should have done the music earlier. I should have done this. I should have done that. No, these things have all of that adversity and all of that struggle has shown you how strong you are. What's better than that?
That's bars. Now that is true, and that I love you for that, Elisa. I do. We haven't spent a lot of time together, but I do love you for that, because you see it. And that is a connection I can draw to my younger self, is like that line of strength, and that strength being shown through these moments of vulnerability.
It's not something to feel shame around. It's actually something really beautiful. Thank you so much for this. This was wow.